Hey everyone, my name is Jake. I'm 26 years old and I'm from Brazil. But only 5 months ago, I couldn't speak a single full sentence in English. Not even something as simple as, "How are you?" without stopping and thinking too much. I was completely lost. Today, I want to tell you how I learned English in just 5 months, without expensive classes, without going to an English-speaking country, and without wasting my time on useless methods. But this is not just my story. This can be your story too. Because if you've ever felt frustrated, stuck, or embarrassed because of your English, I was exactly where you are right now. And I promise, if you listen to my journey step by step, you will know exactly how to change your English and your life. Let's go back to where it all began. Because my journey didn't start with motivation. It started with failure. A failure that completely changed my life, the moment that changed everything. I always dreamed of working for a big international company. My dream job was to become a software engineer at a top tech firm. I loved coding, I was good at it, and I worked day and night to become the best version of myself. Finally, after years of effort, I got my chance. I applied for a huge company in the US. One morning I opened my email, and I saw the words that made my heart race. "Congratulations, Jake. You are selected for an interview." I couldn't believe it. I imagined myself living in another country, earning a great salary, working with the best people in the world. But then, the interview happened. I remember it so clearly, as if it were yesterday. I opened Zoom, and there were 3 interviewers, all native English speakers. They started talking. Fast. So fast that it felt like someone pressed fast forward on their voices. I couldn't understand a thing. Then one of them smiled and said, "Jake, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your experience in software development?" I panicked. I knew the answer perfectly in my head, but the words refused to come out. Yes, I am software. I do coding, many projects. Good, very good. They looked at me politely, but the silence that followed felt like a knife in my chest. They asked another question, but again, I couldn't answer. Finally, one of them smiled kindly and said, "All right, Jake. Thank you for your time." I knew what that meant. I had failed. Not because I wasn't skilled enough, but because I couldn't speak English. That day, I realized the truth. English wasn't just another subject to study. It was the key to my dreams. And I didn't have that key. I felt ashamed, embarrassed, angry at myself. For years, I had told myself, I don't need English. I'll just be great at my job. That'll be enough. But that day I saw the truth clearly. Without English, I was invisible. That night I made a decision. I would learn English, and I would learn it fast. How it all began. Most people, when they start learning English, immediately sign up for expensive classes. I didn't, because I had already tried that before, and it didn't work. A year earlier, I had joined an online English course. The teacher made us memorize word lists, study grammar rules, and complete boring exercises. But after 3 months, I still couldn't speak, not even a basic conversation, so I realized something important. If I wanted to learn English fast, I needed a system that worked in real life, not just in a textbook. And that's how I began my 5-month method. The first 15 days. At the start, I made the same mistake everyone makes. I thought I needed more words. I believed that if I memorized 1,000 new words, I would speak fluently. But I was wrong. Because I already knew hundreds of words, and I still couldn't speak. So for the first 15 days, I didn't study new vocabulary at all. Instead, I focused on learning how to use the words I already knew. Here's what I did. Step 1. I made a survival sentence list. I asked myself, what do I actually need to say every day? Then I wrote down 50 simple sentences like, "Hi, how are you? Can you repeat that? I don't understand. I'm learning English. I'd like a coffee, please." Every morning I read those 50 sentences aloud. Not once, not twice, 10 times. At first my mouth felt stiff, my tongue slow. But after just 5 days, those sentences started to flow automatically. Step 2. I started talking to myself in English every single day. Whenever I was alone, I spoke in English. In the shower, I'd say, "I'm taking a shower. The water is warm. I feel relaxed." When I made breakfast, "I'm cooking eggs. I like eggs. They're easy to cook." At first, I felt stupid, but then I realized this was my private classroom. No one could hear me. No one could judge me. And in just 1 week, my brain started to think in English. Step 3. I practiced 5 sentences a day, with emotion. Every day, I picked 5 lines from movies or YouTube clips. But I didn't just read them, I copied them. I listened to the native speaker's tone, rhythm, and emotion. Then I repeated the sentence 10 times exactly the same way. For example, "I don't know what you're talking about." At first, it sounded unnatural, but after a few tries, I started to sound more real, more confident. By the end of those first 15 days, something amazing happened. I stopped translating in my head. I could speak simple sentences without thinking, and for the first time, I felt hope. But that was only the beginning. The real practice begins. After those first 15 days, I finally felt some confidence. I could make short sentences without freezing, but deep inside, I knew it wasn't enough. I didn't want to just say a few lines. I wanted to talk, to connect, to have real conversations. So I built a new plan, one that would completely change everything. If you follow it, you'll improve faster than you ever imagined. The question-answer habit. One big problem I had was speed. When someone spoke English to me, my brain felt slow, like it needed time to translate every word. I knew vocabulary, but I couldn't connect words quickly. So I invented what I called the question-answer method. It's simple, but powerful. I asked myself a question in English. I answered immediately. No overthinking. Then I changed the answer, again and again. Example: "What did you do today?" At first I said, "I worked." Then I added more. "I worked on my project." "I worked on my project for 3 hours." "I worked on my project for 3 hours, then took a short break." Each time I answered, I added details. That trained my brain to think faster in English. Another example: "What did you eat for breakfast?" First answer, "I ate eggs." Then, "I ate eggs and toast." Then, "I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was hungry." Soon, "I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I love big breakfasts." Every day, I practiced for 30 minutes. In just 2 weeks, I noticed a huge difference. My speaking became faster, my ideas flowed easily, and I stopped translating in my head. The echo technique. Even though I was improving, I still had a strong accent. Native speakers could understand me, but I wanted to sound more natural. That's when I started using the echo technique, the best way to fix pronunciation without a teacher. Here's how I did it. I listened to a native speaker, from a movie, YouTube video, or podcast. I paused after every sentence. I repeated it exactly, same rhythm, same tone, same emotion. For example, from a movie, "I don't know what you're talking about." I paused and repeated, "I don't know what you're talking about," 10 times, exactly. Then from a podcast, "It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk." I echoed that line again and again until my voice felt close to theirs. At first, it was difficult, but after a few weeks, something magical happened. Even native speakers began saying, "Wow, your English sounds really natural." Learning words through stories. I knew I needed more vocabulary, but I also knew memorizing long word lists didn't work. So I created a new system, the story method. Every day, I chose 5 new words. I created a short story using them all. I read it out loud 10 times. I used those words in daily life. Example words: excited, invitation, party, arrive, surprise. My story. I was very excited because I received an invitation to a big party. When I arrived, I got a huge surprise. It was my birthday party. Simple, but powerful. After 3 months, I had learned more than 1,000 words without memorizing a single list. Training my mind to think in English. Most learners think first in their own language and then translate to English. That slows everything down. So I trained my brain to think directly in English. Whenever I walked outside, I described everything silently. The sky is blue. The weather is hot. That man is wearing a red shirt. I asked myself questions and answered them. What am I doing now? I'm sitting in a chair drinking coffee. And every night I wrote a short journal in English. At first, my sentences were simple, but after 1 month, my writing felt more natural. After a few weeks, I realized something amazing. I was no longer translating. English words came automatically. 2 hours a day, no excuses. One simple rule changed everything for me. Speak English at least 2 hours every day. No excuses. If I had no one to talk to, I would talk to myself. If I didn't have time, I spoke while cooking, cleaning, walking. If I felt lazy, I reminded myself, English is my future. I can't quit. Those daily hours built discipline, and discipline built fluency. Understanding real grammar. As my speaking improved, I realized pronunciation and confidence were not enough. I needed to understand how native speakers built sentences. For example, I always said, "I've been learning English for 5 months," but native speakers said, "I've been learning English for 5 months." That was my first big discovery. The English we learn in school isn't always how people actually speak. So I began paying attention. Every time I heard a new structure, I asked myself, why do they say it like that? I noticed patterns, how they use tenses, prepositions, expressions. I wrote everything in a small notebook and tried using those patterns in my next conversation. When something confused me, like on the bus but in the car, or at night but in the morning, I searched for examples and listened to real usage online. Slowly, grammar stopped feeling like a rule book and started feeling like a rhythm. Writing and shadowing. To strengthen my writing, I began keeping a daily diary, again in English. At first, today I went to work. I was tired. I ate pizza. It was good. But soon, I wanted to write like native speakers, so I read blogs, books, and articles. I noticed how sentences flowed, short and long, simple and emotional. Then I copied that rhythm in my journal. At the same time, I practiced shadowing. I'd play a video of a native speaker, put on headphones, and repeat every word right after them, matching their speed, pronunciation, and emotion. I did this 20 minutes a day. Within weeks, my pronunciation jumped to another level. Watching movies the right way. I had always watched English movies, but now I watch them differently. I turned on subtitles, paused after every sentence, and repeated it aloud. I focused on tone, pronunciation, and emotion. This turned movies into free English lessons. Slowly, my English started to sound alive, not like textbook English, but I like real English. Finding confidence. By now, my English had improved a lot, but there was still one big barrier: fear. I realized that English isn't only about grammar or words, it's also about confidence. Many learners know enough English, but they're too afraid to speak. I used to be that person, so I made a new rule for myself. I will not be afraid of mistakes. I started speaking whenever I could, with colleagues, shopkeepers, friends, strangers. At first I was nervous, but something surprised me. People understood me. They didn't laugh. They appreciated my effort. That small encouragement gave me courage to keep going, facing my biggest fear. There was still one mountain to climb. Talking to native English speakers, I was terrified they wouldn't understand me, but I knew I had to face it. So I prepared 10 simple conversation topics. How was your day? What do you do for work? What's your favorite food? I practiced them daily until I could answer naturally. Then I joined an online English practice group. At first, my hands were shaking, but as people began to talk, I realized something. Everyone was learning, just like me. We helped each other, laughed at our mistakes, and celebrated small wins together. That community changed my learning journey. It made English not just a subject, but a part of my life. As weeks passed, I felt a quiet confidence inside me. I was no longer the same Jake who once froze in that interview. I had changed, not only my English, but my belief in myself. I had become someone who could dream bigger and act on it. The breakthrough and the lesson that changed my life. Month 4. Something had changed inside me. English was no longer a subject I studied. It had become a language I lived. Everywhere I went, I thought in English. Every song, every video, every thought in my head started forming in English words. It felt strange at first, but beautiful. I started to realize that English wasn't just about speaking correctly. It was about connecting with people, with the world, and with a stronger version of myself. The real test. One morning, I received an email. It was from the same company where I had failed the interview 5 months ago. They were hiring again. For a few minutes, I just stared at the screen. My hands were cold. My mind whispered, "What if you fail again?" But another voice inside said, "This time, you're ready." So I applied. And 2 weeks later, I got an interview invitation. I didn't panic this time. Instead, I smiled and whispered, "Let's see how far I've come." The day of the interview. That morning, I woke up early. I practiced my breathing, reviewed some key phrases, and repeated my favorite affirmation. I speak English confidently. I am calm. I am ready. When I entered the interview room, I noticed the same manager, the one who had once asked me that impossible question. He smiled. "So, Jake," he said, "tell me about yourself." Last time, those words had frozen me. But this time, I breathed deeply and spoke from my heart. "My name is Jake. I'm passionate about learning and improving." Over the past 5 months, I've been working hard on my English because I wanted to communicate better, not only at work, but in life. And honestly, this journey has taught me more than I expected. As I spoke, I saw his expression change, from polite interest to genuine surprise. We talked for 20 minutes. Not once did I feel lost. My English wasn't perfect, but it was alive. When the interview ended, he said, "Your improvement is amazing, Jake. We'd love to have you on our team." For a few seconds, I couldn't even breathe. I walked out of that room with tears in my eyes, not because I got the job, but because I had proved something to myself. I could do it. The turning point. From that day, English stopped being my fear. It became my strength. Every conversation felt like a small victory. Every mistake became a teacher, not an enemy. I realized something powerful. You don't learn English by being perfect. You learn by being brave, by speaking when you're not ready, by trying even when you're scared, by continuing even when you feel stuck. I had spent years waiting to feel ready, but readiness never comes first. Action does. The emotional realization. One night, while writing in my journal, I looked back at my first page, a page full of short, broken sentences. Now, my words flowed like water. I smiled, not because I spoke perfect English, but because I had become a different person. A person who believed in progress more than perfection. A person who had learned the meaning of consistency, patience, and self-trust. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about language, it was about life, the 5-month blueprint, my secret routine. After that success, many people asked me, "Jake, how did you do it in just 5 months?" Here's exactly what I tell them. 1. Speak daily, even to yourself. If you have no one to talk to your mirror. Explain what you did today. Describe your plans. 2. Listen and echo. Choose one native source, a podcast, a movie, or a YouTube clip. Repeat it again and again. Copy the emotion, not just the words. 3. Learn through stories. Don't memorize lists. Make short stories with new words. Use those words again in your daily life. 4. Think in English, always. Talk to yourself in English while walking, cooking, or traveling. It feels strange, but it trains your brain faster than any grammar book. 5. Stay consistent, not perfect. Even 15 focused minutes a day is better than 3 hours once a week. That's how real fluency grows, quietly, slowly, beautifully. The final reflection. Now, years later, when people hear me speak English, they often say, "You must have lived abroad for a long time." I smile and tell them the truth. No, I learn from my room, with my phone, my notebook, and a dream. Because language isn't about location, it's about dedication. If you're listening to me right now, and you feel stuck or hopeless, I want you to remember something I once wrote on the very first page of my English journal. It doesn't matter how slow you go. What matters is that you don't stop. You may feel lost now. You may feel your pronunciation is bad, or that grammar is too hard, or that other people are better than you. But I promise you, one day you'll speak with confidence, and you'll remember this moment with pride. Because every time you speak one more word, you're not just learning English, you're building courage. You're growing stronger. And that is something no textbook can teach. Finally, 5 months. That's all it took to change my future, not because of a miracle, but because of daily, quiet effort. And if I could do it, so can you. Your English journey isn't about being perfect. It's about believing that small steps taken daily can build something extraordinary. So today, right after this video ends, say one sentence in English, just one, and let that sentence become the first brick of your own story. Because one day, you'll tell your story too, and someone, somewhere, will start their journey because of you.